All right, guys, we are live with Jen Rozenbaum. So let's go ahead and make sure people are flooding into the broadcast here. And we will start. I'm going to go ahead and mute, and we will start in just a few minutes. And as we go live, we're going to be discussing with Jen how to shoot better boudoir, how to present better boudoir, and then also how to sell bigger and better boudoir albums. Thank you very much, Jen, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we will start in just a couple minutes. Attendees are starting to roll in here, and we'll start in just a few minutes. All right, so looks like we need to do setting here. All right, so we're having the same technical difficulty we did last time with people not being able to view the video. Hey everyone. Is it streaming on the YouTube channel also?
So we can send everybody this link.
Okay, is there login? I think login is me on the Google Hangouts, and then we will do the setting on that particular video. Yeah. So just as hey everybody, there is a little technical difficulty on playback for this video, and we will go fix that right now, but we can also give you the direct link to watch the video in another browser window. But we'll get this going in just a second. We'll start in just a second. Let's see, I should be able to do this. Let me go ahead and just log in here. Settings. Okay, here we go. You know where this is? Here? Okay, we're looking to set the settings. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. For those having trouble seeing this, just go ahead and go to the link right here, and you can watch. Did you post that link? All right, so up at the top of the chat, just click on the link to watch via YouTube, and you can watch there. So hey, Jen, welcome. So if you all don't know Jen, and I don't know who that would be because I think everybody knows Jen. Don't you think? If you don't all know Jen, Jen's a really special person because not only is she a great boudoir photographer, but she really is into boudoir photography for something really important. I'll let you talk about that later. But what we'll be covering today is not only how to shoot boudoir and the techniques that you use, but your why behind your shooting boudoir, and then shooting for a purpose of providing a printed product that not only helps your business, but then also helps give something tangible to the subjects. So welcome, Jen.
Thank you for having me.
So let's jump right in and I know that you've spoken about this before on your TEDx talk, but what is the real why behind your photography?
So, the why behind my boudoir photography is for every woman to celebrate her unique femininity shamelessly.
And so what does that mean?
It basically means that every woman is so multifaceted and so different. And it's 2016. It's about time we start celebrating that. And that means celebrating it for yourself and not being afraid of who you are and putting that out there in the world. But it also means not judging each other and accepting women for who they are. And it's also a little bit about being a feminist. But I always say I like to put the feminine back in the feminist. Not feeling like we need to be equal to men and the same as men to get equal rights, but to celebrate what makes us unique as women to earn the money that we're meant to earn and to gain the rights that we're meant to have. So, it's celebrating who you are as a woman all around in life.
And so what's your process to discover that? Like, what's your process as you bring on a client to discover her uniqueness and then so that you can capture that and celebrate that?
It's really about offering a space to them that's safe and without judgment so that they can express themselves the way they want, and to just communicate with them and let them know that no matter what they want to wear, no matter what they want their pictures to say, it's okay. I'm not going to judge them for that. And it's just a safe place, just offering a safe place. Sometimes, I'm not always I'm sort of the catalyst, but I'm giving like the aha moments to the women, but I'm not doing the work for them. They're still doing the work.
So let's go ahead and as you're shooting, what is the process as you're shooting to make sure you're capturing that unique story?
Well, the first thing that we're going to do is when they come to the studio, we're going to see what they brought outfit wise, and that really helps tell the story. So we go through it with the hair and makeup artist and with them and decide what they want to wear. And I usually make decisions based on what they want to show. So for example, if she wanted to show the different facets of who she is, like she wanted softer images and something a little bit edgier, we might go with, lingerie. And then in the next shot, we might have like a leather jacket and jeans. But sometimes women want something a little bit more cohesive and they say, okay, I want to show, I'm just really lacy and girly, but I want to maybe do something a little bit different with my hair and makeup. It's really a matter of what they want and really listening. Like as photographers, we're not always good at listening. So much of photography is really about listening to what your clients want and just being the catalyst to make that happen.
So do you think it would be fair to say and take that a step further that sometimes we as photographers put ourselves first and what we really need to do is put the client first?
I think it's a collaboration. There's nothing more annoying than when a client comes in and is like, here, I want these pictures, because then it takes away my artistic eye and my vision of who she is as a woman. But I think it would be really annoying at the same token for me to be like, no, this is what you have to wear and this is what you have to do. So it's a collaboration between the two of us.
Yep. That's great. So let's move on past the shoot now. And next, we're going to talk about presenting the photographs to your clients.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. So as we bring them in, we talked yesterday, and the first choice is really to get the client in the studio and present to them in person.
Yeah, of course. That's always the best case scenario. I mean, especially when you're talking about women in lingerie, like, it's kind of torturous to send pictures of a woman of herself sexy and be like, here, go look at these all by yourself, because women tend to like nitpick and like pull themselves apart. And, I would rather be there to hold their hand and say, what do you mean you think you look fat? Or what do you mean you don't like your hair? Are you crazy? Look at how beautiful it looks, just to give her that positive reinforcement, especially in this society, like we are not taught that it's okay to say, wow, I look beautiful, so it's, again, me just sitting there and saying to them, it's okay for you to say you look beautiful. I think you look freaking beautiful,
And then from a business standpoint, why is it important to present in person?
Yeah, of course it's important that way, because also the same thing, that positive reinforcement allows for higher sales, of course, because, if she's deciding between two images or three images and she's by herself, she's going to cut it down. But if you're sitting next to her and you're like, listen, I can put these in a beautiful spread. Let me show you what it might look like together. It's so much more high touch. And, listen, I'm not a salesperson. I despise the selling part of photography, but I'm an honest person. And if I can say to my clients, listen, this is really what I want you to have, this is how I think it looks good, and I'm being honest and truthful about it, then I'm not necessarily selling them. I'm giving them my opinion as an artist and as a photographer, and that's really what they hired me for.
Yep. So let's go ahead and, and then second choice, and I know we've discussed this before, and sometimes with life getting in the way and where the clients live, sometimes being able to present just as we're presenting now over a Google Plus or a Skype session.
Yeah, so it's obviously my second choice, but it happens. I shoot a lot of clients from out of state, and they come in, they shoot, and then they go home. So that's what I need to do. And, there's ways of doing that as well. It's not as easy, although I hear it's about to get easier. And, but, listen, if you're shooting properly for your albums, if you're really getting what your clients want to get, then upselling and creating beautiful finished pieces of work for them should not be difficult either way.
Yeah, so let's kind of dive in the technical side. So here we have the usual view of the Fundy designer as we're designing an album. I know that you work both with Fineo and WHCC a lot, and so we have one of those albums loaded up. And before we start designing, though, you treat Boudoir as a portrait session, which is the same process of any portrait session, whether it's family, high school seniors. The first is to present the images and have them choose their photographs and then put those into an album. Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So if you hit this little icon here, which is a grid to bring you into the image viewer, here we have the image viewer, right? And so here we have the grid of images. Here we have the film strip that I've been showing. And then up here, we have a slideshow. So we have all of these songs from Triple Scoop Music, and then we can just do a random slideshow of all of the photographs. So we'll go ahead and let that get loaded. Right, so being able to present this in person, whether you connect to a monitor or TV, and then also be able to present this over the web. Right, so this is Skype and Google Plus. There is a company called Zoom.us that will actually play your audio through your client's computer on the other side. So that's an added enhancement, and they have a free account that you can use to do that. Cool. So once we present the slideshow, now it's time to go ahead and choose the photos, right?
Yeah, and I think that the slideshow is important too, by the way, because I think slideshows really help sort of like ease them into seeing their images. Like when you take family pictures or you take senior photos, they kind of know what to expect. But with Boudoir, clients don't always know what to expect, and they're not used to seeing themselves that way. So it's a little bit of a shock.
A lot of anticipation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so next is the choosing. And so you notice here we have this little heart icon here. So that's your favorite. And mostly we can stick with that. We also have the star ratings if you want to have more options than just yes or no. If you want to have, yes, no, maybe, you can use the star ratings. And these are all mapped to your keyboard. So the left and right arrows will go left and right to the images. The up arrow will favorite that, and then the down arrow will unfavorite as we go through.
Very nice.
Right. So let's go through. I'll let you be the client, and we'll go through. And then one of the questions that's often asked is, how many typically images do you want to start with in a project to present to the client?
Sure. I show my clients anywhere between 75 and 150 images, depending on how long her session was. And the reason why is because there will be multiple images. So there might be like the same image looking away as, and the next one she might be looking at me. And I want to make sure we get that variety in the album of her looking away and her looking at the camera. Women love images where they're looking down, but men really like eye contact. So as a general rule. So if they're giving this as a gift to their husband or boyfriend or whatnot, I usually like to say to them, okay, well, we need some pictures with eye contact. So I give them those options.
Okay, great. And also another thing is we have the grid view, the film strip, and then also the compare view. So being able to compare two images looking down and away versus looking at the camera. And so we can go into that. And those are also mapped to your keyboard. So, and those will be the shift key on the left side of the keyboard and then the next keys next to it. So shift Z, we'll go to the grid, shift X here, shift C, compare, and then shift V will be viewing the design, and we'll go over that later after we design the album.
Cool.
So let's go through and let you be the client. So we'll just go through one by one. We viewed the slideshow, and then you just give me a yes or no, or ask me to go into the compare view to look at two different images.
Sure. No. Do you like how I say no to my own photograph?
Yeah. No.
Yes. Can we compare this one to the one before it because they're similar poses?
Yep. So we'll go here, there. Yeah.
I think I like the close-up one better.
Okay, right. So we won't favorite that one and then go back to.
No. Okay. We'll back. Okay.
Yeah, here. So we're that one.
Right. Yes. Yes. No. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And then also, this is kind of a collaborative process. Thank you. Using my ring, a collaborative process. So a lot of times when the client is having difficulty committing, you can just say, "Hey, just give general. We can go back through this again and refine." So if
so I usually go through, by the way, like 3 times is my rule. Exactly. So the first time is like, just say yes if you like a picture, or if you're not sure if you like it, just say yes and we'll look at it again. Yeah. And then the second time through is starting to make some more comparisons. And then the third time through is when it starts time to make some harder decisions.
Yeah.
So yes. No. Yes. Yes.
I love the grain on these black and whites, by the way.
Thank you. I love me a little grain too. Yeah. Yes. No. Yes. Yes. No.
Are you sure? That makes a great album spread.
Okay, fine.
No, I did. I moved on.
Oh, okay. See, because if I really believe in something, I say it. Yeah. If I'm like, are you sure? Because I know this is going to look good in your album. I'll be like, let me put it in and we can always take it out later.
That's right.
Yes. Super similar to the one before it. So maybe we should compare them. Yeah, I think I like the one with our hands in our lap better.
This one?
Yeah, why not? Yes. Yes. Yes, I love these. If I do say so myself. Yes. We'll make that a yes. No. Yes. Sure. Yes. Yes. No. Yes. 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 Sure. Yes. No. I don't know why, except for I'm just saying yes a lot. So I'm just going to say no.
I'm out.
I'm like, I don't know why. No. Yes. No.
And this was an old storefront or something?
So this was an Airbnb that I rented. It was actually an antique shop that they put a bed in and called it an Airbnb.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was amazing to shoot in, but I would have been really mad if I was staying there because it was not very welcoming as a place to stay. No.
Great for stuff like that.
Yeah. No. No. Yes. Yes. Yeah, so it had this storefront. So I went out on the street and shot her in the window. How amazing is that?
It's perfect, right?
Yeah, it's not so good for privacy when you're sleeping there.
I said yes to that last one, by the way.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes.
Okay, and then now we're back at the beginning,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So what we can do here, and then we can just go and just filter down by the hearts,
Mm.
right? And so now I filtered just the hearts, and so we're down to 32 images.
Oh, cool.
So we see that right here, we're down to 32 images.
Hmm.
And so from there, if you're down to 32, would you go ahead and ask for that album sale?
So what I would do is it normally right now I should say, I've done sales like a whole bunch of different ways. I've done a la carte, I've done packages. Right now I'm sort of in a package mode. So if my two highest end packages include albums. One includes an album with 20 photos and one includes an album with 30 photos. So if she took my highest package and included 30 photos, I would just throw the extra two in. If she took the 20 picture package, I would then say to her, okay, we have 32 images. So let's look at them again and just make sure you love them all. And
Mhm.
if you do, we can figure out, how much it would be to put them in. And this is the point where either she's like, okay, I am not adding more images to this album,
Yeah.
or I cannot part with these. So, okay.
Yeah.
And what I would do is I would kind of go to a place where there were some duplicates
Mhm.
and start comparing them for her just to say, okay, do you love one better than the other? And not pushing her really either way to take or to take out.
Yep. So, from this point, obviously you could say, well, either you can get the one with 30.
Right.
Is that right? What do we
Yep.
do?
Hmm.
Let me filter back down there. Yep. So 32. So 30, or do you want to try to take 10 photos out and get down to
Right.
20 and move down? So 10's a lot, right?
10's a lot. And so the thing is, and it would really be 12 in this case, actually.
Yeah.
So, I would even maybe say to her, listen, if you just want to throw them all in an album, like I'll charge you for the 30 picture album, but I'll give you all 32 images, like I'm trying to give her reason to buy that.
Handy. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. If she's like, no, I just want to take some out, and she's upgrading to like 25 pictures, I'm going to make sure that it's, I'm making enough money to do that. So it's got to, I hate to use the word manipulate because it sounds so terrible, but hear me out for a second. I can manipulate the numbers to make it valuable for her to get all 32 photos.
Yep.
And the truth of the matter is, if she loves these, I want her to have them. So, I don't want to put them in the dumpster. I want her to enjoy them.
And you're not manipulating the client, you're manipulating the offering. You're adjusting the offering to match her needs and giving her some incentive to spend some more.
Yeah, and listen, the more images that they take, this is a typical rule that I usually use, the more images you take, the less it is per image. So at some point it becomes like, okay, well, if I could just spend an extra $100 and get all images, I might as well do that, that kind of a thing.
Okay, so let's say she decided to go ahead and go for the 30-page album.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to open up the order panels here, and I'm going to click Add Album, and we aren't going to do the album design beforehand. So if you were designing if you're doing a wedding, for example, you'd already have the album done, and it's all about adjusting to that album to make that album sale, right? Mm-hmm. But you're selling an album of the photos, and you're going to present the design later.
Right.
Right. So I'm going to put the album in here. I'll just put top package album. And then she would choose her cover material, I would assume.
Yeah, I usually just do like little black books, like wet black leather, typically.
And then what was the price on the top package?
I think it's about $2,500.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and add that package in there, right? So the album is added. And does that package include anything else?
It does include the digitals of the images as well. And, for me, I don't mind including digitals because I think, they're not going to go make prints and give them to grandma, number one. And number two, they often like to send them to their significant other. And, if they're going to post them on Facebook, more power to them because that's good advertising for me. So I'm okay with that.
I'll show you a workaround. This will save you a lot of time on the back end of being able to just make copies of these particular photos to give her the digital, right? Without having to go back and resort all of these. So I'm going to click Add Other, and I'm going to put digital files. And no charge on that because it's included in the package. Then I'm just going to select all of these and drop them in there.
Oh, wow, that's cool. I like that.
All right. Okay. And then, maybe she wants some loose prints for somebody. So we can go ahead and select that. I'm going to add a print. Go down to my print offerings, and you can set up your print pricing, and then probably not an 8x10, but maybe a 5x7 horizontal. Right. So basically creating an a la carte order.
Nice.
And then here we have our order with the client name, pricing. You can put your tax information in on the back end and then all the legalese and export that. So then you have the order is done. And then that's going to help a lot for the back end workflow.
I like that.
So client order's done, client goes home, and now we're going to go into production mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
So after the client leaves and whatever they've ordered, do you go ahead and do some extra retouching on those photos?
Typically I would, yeah. So when I show them the images, they are what I call lightly retouched. So I would go and then fully retouch them for print and then design from those images.
So what we can do from there, so the order has been created, and so Fundy Designer knows what photos are in any albums, any order, any gallery design, whatever's in that project. And so go images and export images for retouching. And so it's made copies of those photos for retouching into that.
Those are JPEGs?
Those are exact duplicates of the original files.
I see. Okay. You did say that. I'm listening.
Yeah. So we don't actually like export them again. We just find them on your computer, make copies of them, and then duplicate them into that new folder. So it's more of just an organizational tactic.
Got it.
And then from there, you can retouch all the photos. And then once you're retouched, choose resync. And then so here you can see all those photos that were there. Right? And so post retouching, then we just resync back to that folder, and then it will have all of the retouched images in here.
Got it.
And so that's really key. You only have, it knows which photos need retouching. You only have to retouch those, and then you resync, and then you're back in production mode without trying to, so you don't have to organize anything.
Love it.
I'm not the best organizer. Kate can probably attest to that. So let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and design the album here in a second. But Kate just informed me, hence the lack of organization on my part, that 2 winners will be chosen. One winner will receive a framed exhibit print in a mat, $107 value, and then another winner will be receiving a free 10x10 playbook from Fineo.
Oh, fun.
Another $110 value. Okay, now let's go ahead and set up the album. What size albums do you usually do?
8x8.
8x8, okay. And then, so let's go ahead and choose our 8x8. And then what kind of cover? Do you do a plain cover or a cutout?
I just do the leather, like a plain black leather. Yeah.
All right, so here we are. So one of the things we can do is we can go ahead and just hit the auto design and see what happens. And how many pages do you usually do, or does it really matter?
For 32 images, I would do 30 pages.
Okay. Oh, wait, I forgot. So we have to filter down to just the favorites, and then auto design with the filtered images, meaning 32 images, and then you can see we're going to average about 2 photos per spread.
Which is perfect.
Right, and then boom. And then not bad. Not bad for an auto design. Right, so then we would go back through, and obviously we don't want to cut off her head. Right, so we'd go back through, and then I'll let you give some artistic feedback on adjusting the actual design itself. And we'll just go page 1. We can move some photos over here if we want more photos on that page and move between pages and stuff like that. So I'll let you kind of do a little artistic.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I like to do is when sometimes I will do auto design, but then I go through and I make sure that I'm not really losing the image or losing anything important in the image. So I'll sort of rework it from there. But as amazing as the auto design is, and I don't want to take away from it, I kind of already know when I see the pictures, like what I want to put together. You know, like I know, like this is great that it did this. Like I know for the black and whites that I'm going to make sure black and whites are together on one page. I'm going to make sure I typically have on page 1, when you open it on the right-hand side, I typically have a picture of her looking up. That's kind of, I don't know why, but I've convinced myself it's important for somebody to open the book and have eye contact.
Yep.
Um,
All right, so let's go ahead and then just design together. Let me make this a little bit bigger. One thing that also we can do is if you're working on two monitors, you can have this big grid view open in one monitor and then the design view in the other monitor and drag across those windows, which I find to be much easier than trying to use the image well down below. But that's
some of us, yeah, I work on one monitor because one monitor is enough for me to handle.
All right, so let's go ahead. You know these photos pretty well. What would you like to put on the first page?
I think that if I was going to start with something where she was like looking up, maybe I would start with, well, we can start with, so I like to kind of go in order of the outfits because I typically shoot like more conservative to racier.
Yeah.
So if we went to the beginning where she was, oh, yeah, okay. We can do that, but maybe I would start with those like two middle ones right there.
These right here?
Sorry, no, go all the way to the right. On the left, with the other right, the left, sorry. And you see the two middle ones? Yeah.
Good.
Let's start with those.
Okay, on the first page?
Yeah.
Okay. And then let's go with quick design picker. You think something more like that?
I would maybe give a little space between them if you could. No, actually, I like what you picked. Go back to that. Yeah, something like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And
Something
then
like that, yeah.
for spacing, I just have the defaults, but if you like more spacing, we can obviously change that in the settings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to be easy for time's sake, you know. And then I'd probably go with the other two.
On the next one.
Yeah, so I try not to put any more than 2 to 3 images per spread. Sometimes it happens, and I'll show you maybe an example of that as we go on, but I try not to. So that would be done. And then I would go to these black and white. So I have 6 of them. So I would probably go to either 2 or 3 pages of them. I'm always looking for a centerfold, but I'm not sure. Let's see. Let's do, so that first one and then the fourth one together. Let's do those together.
Whoa, oops. I accidentally had too many selected there. I had the previous one selected.
So I would probably make the one where she's looking a little bit larger and the one where she's not a little bit smaller. Always being careful of the center fold, obviously. So like, yeah.
Did I get that backwards or is that correct?
That's fine.
We can flip it and go like
we go the other way. Yeah, that's better. This way they could, yeah.
Yeah, and so if people to know what I did there, I just hit the space bar to flip it and then I swap the photos. Right? Flip, swap, flip, swap.
That space bar trick is a good one. And then, so the one where she's with her arms up, yeah, maybe I would try to make, let's see what that looks like, more centerfoldy. Like just put that one on. Yeah, something like that. And
we could do
I would do that with some spacing around it. Now, the only thing I'm concerned about is that it's going to cut through her face. So
so let's open this up and so we can see here.
Yeah, so instead I'm going to add another picture.
Okay. Do you want to try? We can also zoom a little bit and give it.
I still just feel like, for me, I would rather. I try to get as much of the image in as possible all the time. But that wouldn't be bad though. That's okay. That looks good.
Yeah, we can add some if you want.
No, you talk me into it.
Okay.
And then so I would put the other 3. What's that?
You're easy to convince.
I know, it's very easy. So then I would take the last 3 black and white ones, and I would put those on a page. So even though I try not to go for more than 2 to 3 images, I still think that that's going to work.
And do you prefer usually something where you have like a main image and smaller ones, like something like this, or do you prefer maybe doing? Let me get this in and doing more of like a film strip option.
Yeah, I prefer it the other way. Okay. The way that you just had it actually would be, something, like that.
And then if people aren't super familiar with the drop zones, from here we can, we can keep the image aspect ratio or we can go full in to fit the whole area.
How are you doing that? What are you pressing for that?
Yeah, so one of the, so with drop zones, you have a lot of control. One control you have is you can go to one-to-one ratio. And then exact one-to-one ratio. But another control that you have is this fit and fill, which is your F key.
Yeah.
And what that will do is it basically says, I want to stretch the image box to fill into this whole drop zone area.
Got it.
And so now it's just it just wants to fill that up.
Right. I prefer going with the ratio of the images.
Yeah. So in that case, if the auto design or the quick design picker gives you this option, just hit the F key and it will.
Okay, that's good to know.
Additionally, if you go into the layouts and then we see this layout is the one we chose, we can toggle through that and see the options within that one particular layout. And so if you click it a few times, you're going to get the full aspect, the full 3:2 ratio of that.
That's typically how I do it, but I like your way. It's faster.
And then is that what you wanted for the photo?
Yeah.
My concern here is
so Russ is asking that question actually, will the red part get cut out? So that's the safe zone, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so this
is the cut zone?
Yeah, that's the cut zone. It probably won't get that aggressive, but it could be. So one thing that we could do is we could just grab this drop zone and bring it into the green line, which is the safe zone here.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
All right, and then we're within that safe zone.
And you have a little room to move her down too, actually.
Oh yeah, I do. You're correct, yeah.
Yeah, so I like that feel of like that little bit of border around it just so nothing gets cut off. Yeah, so then I would just, again, I would grab probably 2 of those images and then the other 2 and put those in pages.
Yeah, and kind of go like this.
Yeah,
also,
sometimes I even just throw them in and then I go back later and I figure out how I want them to be.
And then another trick, if you're a fan where you always want to have the full aspect ratio of the photo, when you go into the quick design picker, under style, you can just say 3:2 all the time, and then it will only give you 3:2 ratio option.
Oh, that's good to know.
Right, so we can do maybe like something like that this time, and then. All right, so let's go ahead and lay out the rest of this album. So do you want this next 6 to do?
Yeah, so like these, this is always interesting because like the first 3 I would typically do a spread and then those last 2, but then it leaves me that 1 extra one. So what I would do is either do it that way and then you put the 1 extra one on the next page and just start the next outfit after that. Or I would figure out a way to make it work. This is one of those areas where like I might have to go back in and condense again later if I have too many pages. So I think we can let's do the first 3 together. And then let's just see what it looks like with those second 3. Might be able to do something like a different layout. I just like that one where there's a lot of negative space. I don't want her to look shrimpy, so that's like a good one to kind of put on its own. Yeah. Something like that. I like it better the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think it's, varying the design slightly, but keeping it consistent, I think makes a really nice album.
Yep. And then those 3 I would definitely put together.
And then what type of layout?
I would like the second one, actually.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. And same image order?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And then next 3.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely it's important. I see this a lot where people make sample albums, and they put black and white and color together. I would never do that.
Yeah, no.
It's not good in the printing process. So I like the 1, second row down, second one in. Second one in.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I would move her over just a smidge so she doesn't get cut off, but.
This one? Yeah, so she is full bleed here.
Yeah, so I would probably.
One of the things that we can do is we can do kind of what we did before where we just zoom in a little bit to give us some extra space and then bring her down.
Yeah.
Right. And most likely it might cut the top of her head a little bit, but we probably won't do that. It probably won't happen. Another thing we can do here is if you would like to, not saying that this image would require that, we can change this to a vertical. Bring those up to very similar sizes. So just so people have an option while they're designing.
Right.
Or even square.
Okay, and then I would actually skip to that one where your mouse is on right now and try to make that a centerfold also.
Done.
Yeah, I just feel like that's needs to be.
And then it looks like we're really close to that eye. So probably a little tiny zoom, just a little tiny bit, and then move over just a tad, just so we make sure we don't get too close to that. And what does that say here?
It's something in French. I don't even know.
Yeah, because it's almost with the G and the hint that like it almost reads as glamour, even though it's
not. So I would just stick with that outfit. So I would actually go forward instead, and then I would go back to those other two at the end.
And then we can go back and look at the design, see what some options are here. We can also, one thing we can do is we can shuffle around here too as we.
So I would probably do, are those like 3 vertical or 2 vertical and 1 horizontal?
3 verticals, they're all verticals.
They're all vertical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like at the bottom, maybe the second one to the end, and I would just maybe shuffle it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I would just shuffle the images around a little bit, but you get the idea.
One thing we can do too, this is kind of a new feature we introduced last year, is we have the drop zone and we introduced alignment within the drop zone. So this icon with the alignment and the image versus the alignment in the drop zone will shove that image over to the left side of the drop zone.
Oh, that's fun.
Right?
Yeah, I like that.
Give it a little off center.
Is that all did we use all the images already?
We did.
Okay, so because we only have 26 pages, now I'm like, okay, good. I can go back and start like making some of these less crowded. So I would probably go into like 14, 15, and 16, 17 and take 2 images out of those and put them in another spread.
Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll just kind of grab willy-nilly.
Yeah, that's fine, just for time's sake.
So I'm just going to do that, and then obviously we can take that and move it up.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to love January, a free update. We're doing a little micro feature update. You can grab a photo and drop it between 2 pages and create another page.
Oh, that's fun.
So that'll be nice little itty bitty time savers.
I like it. So on the 20 to 21, I would actually grab those. I would leave the big one as a centerfold.
Yep.
And grab those other 2 and take them out and make them.
I'm just going to kind of do the opposite. I grab that onto the
That's fine.
And then bring that up. You want it before or after?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. There we go. And now we're at 2 pages.
Yeah, perfect. So I always try to design like a little tighter and then I can expand later. It's harder to expand and then go tighter. So
yeah, totally.
It's easier to go the other way.
Totally. So there we go. So we're done. If you're ever in a situation where you have the client sitting with you and you want to do a slideshow of the album itself, you can do that right here. When you hit the play button, you can hit current design for what it will show. And we can just let's go ahead and do that just as a group so we can see this as a full design, as a slideshow.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where you can show your client. So here's the first page. And for those watching remotely, the transition is a lot smoother in person on your screen than it will be over a Skype or Google Plus, because the streaming live to YouTube or Skype or Google Plus, you have a little latency display, so the transitions aren't quite as smooth. That's a pretty solid design.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, there's a couple of spots where I would have gone, oh, okay, let me go back. Like, I think that the centerfold, like the folds in the middle is a little too close to her face or whatever. But it's a good opportunity. Like in pages 12, 13, I'd probably swap the images.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, we're just doing this like for time's sake, just kind of. But for me, I always make sure I flip through the album, and I make sure I flip through the album at the end too before I send it to her or before she sees it, because I want to make sure that it flows properly and that it looks good. And sometimes, like, I find the centerfold is like too early in the album, so I'll push it forward, that kind of a thing. So
Exactly.
I just want to look through that.
And whether you're showing this to the client in person or you just want a clean view yourself, one of the new views here is over here all the way on the right. This is what we call our design view. And so you can just flip through the pages with no controls or anything and show the full design.
Yeah.
And if you're presenting the design to the client and you want to make changes on the fly, any changes that you make here will auto replicate here.
Cool.
So that's kind of fun. So now we're ready to show this to the client, which we can do in person, or we can export for Proofer and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and export for Proofer. This is our online proofing. Let's see, Proofer. All right, so we're exporting this for the proofing system, and then we'll go ahead and log in to the proofing system and show you guys how that works. So the clients can go ahead and they can approve their design right then and there, or ask for any changes or anything like that.
Yeah, which makes it so easy.
Yeah, and so for cases like this with Boudoir, I really can't imagine you have many changes because they've already chosen their photos, and there just won't be many changes.
The only time that sometimes they'll ask me to change something is if they want like a bigger picture. Like, let's say on pages 8, 9, one of the pictures is small, and she'll be like, "Oh, it's my favorite picture. Can you make that the bigger picture?"
Yeah.
But when I do it, I mean, I don't even tell them that they have an option to make a change.
Yeah.
I'm just like, here you go. If you love it, I'll order it,
Yeah.
and so if you don't even, it's not to say I won't make a change if they ask me for changes. Of course I'll do it, but I don't really plant that seed. I know some people will say like, oh, you have up to 3 changes free of charge. Like, I don't even bother telling them that.
Exactly. So let's go ahead, and what you can do, I'll go ahead and just upload this so you guys can see the proofer in action. And a lot of this is just communication with the client, right? It's like, hey, I'm going to send you a link. Everything looks good. Hit approved, and then I'll get an email confirming that, and I'll order it for you. And so here's the link, and then they can go ahead and flip through their album.
Cool.
And done. If they want any changes, hopefully they don't, they can click there and they can just click finished approved. If there are any changes, then they can just draw a little box and then request that change, and then you'll see that change come through on your side. And that is it.
That's nice.
Okay, and then we have some questions here. Oh, Tom asked, why isn't the slideshow full screen all the way to the edges? That's by design, just because in a slideshow, a lot of people will be presenting on a projector for weddings and portraits, and we want to have a little buffer around the edge. If the slideshow functionality is still quite new, so we do have the ability to control that buffer. So if by user request people want to see less of a buffer to the edge, we're happy to reduce that for you all. But I think there should always be a little bit of buffer. We shouldn't go all the way to the edge, because then I think there should always be a little bit of frame around the images when we're presenting them. And I think that was it. No more questions. Did you want to leave any parting words of wisdom for people for their business?
Yeah, I think that selling albums and having a print product is super important. This is the kind of thing that they're going to want to look back on and go, oh my God, look at how beautiful I was. Look how hot I was when I was younger. Or, and again, I sell the 8x8 so that it's It's easy to put in a drawer, and or as my friends from the South like to remind me, it said drawer.
Yeah, we'll help you with that pronunciation.
Yeah, but in New York we call it a drawer. So they can stick it in the drawer, and it's still private, but yet the images are big enough for people to see. Because otherwise the images are going to be so small. So we want to make sure that they're at least like 8x8 or larger, in my opinion.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And then the 8x8 can be in a drawer so that the 6-year-olds don't end up pulling the album out and be like,
right. Exactly. I don't know if you can see the questions on YouTube, but Angie had mentioned some people were asking some questions on there.
Yeah. Are there any that we want to answer live with those questions on the YouTube?
Is it a one-time purchase or yearly subscription?
Yeah. So there's some questions about it's the software. It's a one-time purchase, but if you want the online proofing, then there's a yearly fee for hosting that. But the software itself is a one-time purchase. And then one of the things about the printed product that you touched on is that when, as people get older, they can look back and say, look how beautiful, I was. And there's a lot of studies that show by actually physically touching or having a physical photograph versus a digital one actually physically activates your memory a lot more in your emotion. So by providing printed product, our clients will actually remember that day better and remember that moment in time better than they would viewing the exact same photos on an iPad.
Yeah, and I always say, for me, it's funny, we talk so much about images, and obviously I'm a photographer, although I like to consider myself a photographer therapist.
Yeah.
Listen, the pictures are important for me, and I go around and I educate people how to pose and how to take great pictures and whatnot, but I have to be honest with you, between me and my client, the pictures are secondary. The experience is first. Yeah. And the pictures are just a souvenir of the experience and how she felt. So if she doesn't have that physical product, it's much harder for her to remember how she felt that day and to look back with those fond memories.
Exactly. So we have a couple questions. One is how to change the background color on spreads. Up in the settings panel, which is right up here, you can change the background color globally, and it will do it on every single photo in the spread. And if you want to do that on a single spread, you can do that here under the, under the background options here. Right, so this little icon right here next to the text icon will be your background color option. So you can do it per spread or globally. I've taken things pretty simple and just use white background pretty much all the time. Do you do many background color?
I do white all the time.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as when you walk into an art gallery, I think. They always put it on white walls for the most part.
Yeah, yeah. Same when you walk into a bookstore and you purchase a photography book. Everything's on a white background. And that's the reason being is it makes photographs pop. Mm-hmm. Right, simple. You want the photographs to pop, so white background.
Yep.
Any other? Kate's just seeing about some final questions. So, one thing we didn't go through, the order process. So somebody asked if we actually print the albums, which we do not, but we partner with over 120 different labs throughout the world that do. And so, for example, for Fineo is one of our direct partners. So you can literally just click the order button and we will send it off directly to Fineo. If it's one of our regular print and design labs, you can just hit the export and then order through that lab directly. All right, I think we're good. So a couple things. Currently, there's a 20% off sale to celebrate Halloween going on. So if you want to hit the website, take advantage of that. We will be sending out an email so you can re-watch this with some links to Jen's wonderful education around Boudoir. And then also the giveaway from Fineo will pick the 2 winners, and then we will get in contact with you. All right. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you so much for having me.
You have a wonderful day, and then next time you're in town, we'll take you to ice cream again.
Yes, sir. It's a deal.
Okay. I'll talk to y'all later.